I wanted to make a video on lucid dreaming. Um, just to give you a little bit of context, I used to practice lucid dreaming when I was 22, 23 years old. It was basically an attempt to recover a long-term illness. I tried many different things, many different therapies. I read, I don't know, like 5 books on people overcoming like incurable diseases. I read maybe 15 books on psychology, 20 books on spirituality, something like that. Many videos that I watched on people recovering from incurable diseases, because I've been ill for years with a chronic disease, and I felt that I could get rid of it, but it was just not happening. And medical, standard Western medical science couldn't help me, so I had to, go and look for a solution myself. So I stumbled upon lucid dreaming at some point. To keep it simple, what lucid dreaming is lucid dreaming is basically being aware that you are dreaming in your dream. So basically, that is the first step, being aware that you are dreaming, and then from that state, you can actually, in your sleep state, you can start and create things. And that is a very fascinating journey, especially for a person who, at that time I was chronically ill. In that dream state, I was not limited by physical disabilities, physical weakness. And so that was it's a bit of a dangerous thing because you could escape your day-to-day life there. But basically, to give you an example, like for example, I wear glasses most of the time when I'm outside. I'm very slightly myopic. When I'm at my computer, sometimes I wear my glasses, sometimes I don't need them. But when I'm outside, usually I wear them. And so the thing is, when I was in the lucid dream and I was waking up, I was feeling like, hey, I'm wearing glasses. And I was like, this is a lucid dream. I can do whatever I want, whatever I believe I can do. I can let things spawn. Like I can let the house spawn, enter that house and whatever. And I can also take off my glasses and say I can see. And I did that, for example, in the lucid dream. Took off my glasses, and first my vision was blurry, and then I was like, this is nonsense, I can see. And then I started seeing. And so the thing is, I just want to say that I learned how to lucid dream from some YouTube videos, but also from a book that I read, which was Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming by the author Stephen LaBerge, Ph.D, and Howard Rheingold. Okay. So yeah, after reading that book, I bought some other books, but I didn't really read them fully. But this book I read fully, some 6 years ago, something like that, I think. And so yeah, after reading that book, there's some techniques that you have to follow to, especially before you go to bed, like already think about wanting to lucid dream, and you can maybe think about a specific thing, and you can train yourself to be very aware. I was combining it also with Buddhist meditations, mindfulness, be very aware of what was going on. And so, for example, I think there's something they describe in the book, if I remember correctly, that, for example, every time you enter a certain space, like for example, you go to the bathroom, every time you enter the bathroom, you ask yourself, am I dreaming? And at some point, if you try that for a couple of days, or maybe a couple of weeks, like for me, it went very fast. But for some people, it might take a bit longer. And at some point, you start to like, oh, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? And if you do that enough times during the day, you will also start doing that while you're sleeping. And then, you can just wake up in the dream and be aware that you're dreaming, and you can start creating things. And as a young kid back then, I of course I wanted to also use the lucid dream for some physical pleasures, let's say. But it was also like it's a very meditative thing actually, because like for example, if you get too excited in the lucid dream, what used to happen to me was that I was starting to wake up. I was starting to lose the dream, and how that would translate itself is that the color would become less bright and less bright and less bright and less bright. And so basically, what I would do was, when that would be happening, when I was losing the dream, starting to wake up basically, I would literally go and find grass in the dream and literally eat that grass to to convince my mind that the dream was actually real and that it had to stay there, that I had to stay there in that dream. And so I was not just into lucid dreaming for the enjoyment of it, because lucid dreaming, yes, it can be very nice to do, because at that point I was chronically ill and all my senses were very weak. I couldn't hear very well in real life. I couldn't really smell much. I mean, it's not like I was deaf or something, but my hearing was blocked constantly. Like I was in a plane where it was just like boom, this thing constantly like that blocked. My smelling was my smell was like 15 to 20% of a normal person. Like, for example, people would say like, "How do you smell this smoke?" I would not smell anything. So the thing is, when I was in a lucid dream, I could actually train myself to smell again, which was very exciting. And like, like see without glasses, or like hear very well, or whatever. And so, but now to get to the point of using lucid dreaming to do something. So I wanted to use lucid dreaming not just for pleasure. I also wanted to use lucid dreaming to heal certain aspects within myself, or maybe discover certain things. So what I tried to do was actually also in the lucid dreams, when there were limiting beliefs, like for example, I cannot see without glasses. Because for example, at that point, like my eyesight maybe right now has improved a little bit compared to then. But then I was wearing my glasses the whole time, but actually I didn't need them all the time. When I was outside, I needed them, but when I was like this close to my phone, I could see perfectly fine. And that's something like that maybe in the lucid dreaming I got aware of, like, hey, actually, let's just try and take off those glasses and see better. But it went way beyond that. Like, when there were limiting beliefs within the dreams, I could like try and change it and like change the subconscious a little bit. But there was one specific thing that I wanted to talk about in this video, which is an experience of retrieving a memory. There was one instance where I'd been lucid dreaming for a couple of weeks, and actually every time that I decided at night, like I want to lucid dream, like almost every time, I would actually have a lucid dream. So the thing is, what happened was in my daily life, my say wake life, or awake life, I don't know how to say it. I was thinking about a certain teacher that I had classes from like 10 years before, and I just couldn't find the name. It was just, I couldn't find it. The day after I would think about the name again, I couldn't find it. The day after I would think about it again, I couldn't find it. And I think on the fourth day that I tried it, I was like, I know that the name is somewhere within me, within my brain, but I cannot find it. But I know it is there. Like, I don't know, like people have it quite a lot, not like, oh, I know it, but now it doesn't seem to come to my mind. So then I basically decided, well, let's try and find it in the lucid dream. Let's see if I can do it. I believe it's in there. Well, lucid dream is like a sort of an extra dimension to your mind that you can access. Let's see if I can find it there. And the thing is, I did. And so what I did was, in the lucid dream, I basically spawned a school. I then walked towards the school. I entered the school and I was like, at the reception, I asked like, well, I'm looking for the name of a certain teacher, probably retired by now. Could you help me find the name of that teacher? It's a history teacher that was working here like some 10 years ago. The guy that was smoking and this and that, quite tall, wearing glasses and whatever. And it basically brought me to like the archive of the school. Then I went to the archive and I went on looking there, and at some point I found the first letter of the teacher's name. Then I got too excited and I didn't actually catch like the full name, but I caught the first letter. And then I woke up and I had that first letter. And then within some like few instants, the full name came to me. And while I was awake, and so it's really crazy. Like, you could say, well, it's maybe a coincidence that in your dream, all of a sudden that letter came to you. Maybe it would have come to you also when you were awake. Could be. But it was a very interesting experience. And that was just the very beginning because, if you're into lucid dreaming, there's another next level thing you can do, which is called astral projection. I wanted to learn it at some point, but then I started to hear stories about it being potentially very dangerous. And I also saw that with lucid dreaming, you tend to, if you want to keep lucid dreaming, at some point you get good at staying within the dream. You sometimes sleep just very, very long. Like in general, I'm a person who needs quite a lot of sleep. At that point I needed even more sleep because I was chronically ill. And I was not really able to have a lot of lucid dreams when I was not sleeping much. Like if I was only sleeping like 6 hours or something, it was more difficult to have a lucid dream because lucid dreams, in my experience, tend to happen at the end of the dream, like just before you're waking up, basically. So, which was actually not always the case. Like sometimes it could also happen in the middle of the night, but usually it would happen towards the end of your sleep. So, but just an experience that I wanted to share. It's very fascinating what all you can do, and the things that I related, those were just the very beginnings. It's been quite a while because I stopped it at some point in lucid dreaming because I was like, it does require some energy. You tend to sleep very long. Like I was also in a bit of I was in a searching state, searching for health. I was not really doing well. I didn't really have that many projects going on in the, let's say, the real world, apart from trying to find a solution for my health. So, I mean, I was going to university, but apart from going to university and this thing of like trying to get my health fixed, there was not really much going on. So yeah, but if you want to try it, like it's a very fascinating experience. It also makes you believe more deeply that you actually have quite a lot of influence over your life, because in the lucid dreaming, like you can literally like say like I see without glasses, and boom, you see without glasses. Literally like spawn a building, boom, it happens. And I noticed that in the lucid dream, like there is a certain, you have to really believe that you can spawn the thing. Like at some point it came more easily because I'd done it multiple times and just boom, it came and it came. But when there's a deep belief that something is not possible, like even in the lucid dream, it can sometimes not happen. You have to really believe that you can do it. And that's also something that applies to the world when you're awake. It's it's quite a fascinating thing. So if you wanna try it yourself, I'll say the book again. It's called Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming by Stephen LaBerge. It's not a very recent book. It's probably like, because even when I read it, it was not new. It was maybe like 20 years old or something. I see 1990. Okay, it's almost 40 years old. Well, wisdom doesn't really age, I think. So It's very fascinating, and try it out if you're interested.